Hi everyone, I hope you're keeping well. This video is just to explain a condition that women will experience postnatally called diastasis recti. And it's a really common condition, but I think it's important to raise the awareness of this condition so that women can make sure they're getting the appropriate help for themselves. So this is a condition that as a physiotherapist I see quite commonly. Ladies might refer themselves because they're getting back pain, and sometimes they don't realise that they've got a diastasis or a tummy muscle separation, and it's only when we check them that we realise that that's an issue for them. So a diastasis is completely normal. By 35 weeks of your pregnancy, you will experience a diastasis. If you've not done up until that point, you definitely will by that point, because basically your baby is growing, your uterus is going, so your six-pack muscles, the rectus abdominal muscles, they have to widen and they have to lengthen to accommodate your growing baby. Now for most women, once they give birth, what they'll find is that they won't notice an issue because those muscles might just heal themselves, and most women will have at least one finger's width of a gap, but they don't have any ongoing functional issues. Unfortunately, about 1/3 of women will have experiencing issues with a diastasis ongoing at least from the 6-month mark, and those ladies in particular probably need a little bit more specialist help. So with my balloon here, hopefully I'm going to explain that a little bit better. So we've got our belly button in the middle, and then this is our six-pack muscles. So normally they'd be in 2 straight lines down the middle, okay? And unfortunately with the diastasis, what happens is we lose that tightness and we get this stretching of the rectus abdominis. The other bit as well is the connective tissue in the middle, the linea alba, becomes widened and stretched as well. Now, your six-pack muscles are the most superficial of those muscles. What we also have as well is the transverse muscles, so the transverse abdominal muscles, and these are the deeper layer of abdominal muscles, okay? And the other parts of the abdominal wall, I'm drawn on the back here, we've got the internal oblique muscles, okay, and then we've got the external oblique muscles. So if we're thinking from the inside out, you've got your transverse muscles, then the oblique muscles, and then your six-pack muscles, okay? So when we have this stretching and widening of the linea alba and of the anterior abdominal wall, what happens is, and what most women will commonly find, is when you're trying to get up from a lying position, when you're doing sit-ups, when you're twisting, you then get this doming or bulging of the abdomen. And basically that's just a sign that your abdominal wall isn't able to control that pressure inside. So treatment-wise, the best way to treat a diastasis is through targeted exercises. And from the research, what we know works really well is getting our transverse abdominis muscle, so that corset, the deeper layer, strong, and also our pelvic floor muscles. So I've had a go at drawing a pelvic floor, okay? So basically, your pelvic floor is a real complex mix of muscles, and it basically acts as a support to keep your internal organs where they need to be. And obviously when you've been pregnant and you've given birth, no matter if it's a cesarean or a vaginal delivery, that pelvic floor has still had a lot of work to do. So you've got your back passage, your vagina and your urethra, and the pelvic floor has lots of different layers that wrap around those openings to basically control the function of opening the bowels, passing water. So as well as strengthening up the transverse muscle, we know that if we strengthen up the pelvic floor muscle as well, that helps to generate tension in the linea alba. Once we're generating tension in the linea alba, we can then start to work those other layers of the abdominal wall and generate tension across them, okay? So once we're generating tension across the abdominal wall, it gets stronger. Once the abdominal muscles get stronger, that means we can be more functional, and that bulging isn't happening quite as often and quite as much. Now, it isn't a quick fix, unfortunately. We all wish that we could fix it in a few weeks, but realistically, it can take months and months of doing your exercises for your pelvic floor, your abdominal wall exercises to see those improvements, but it's definitely worth investing in. So Pilates is just one way that we can help in the early stages to get those muscles going. There's no such thing as a bad exercise, but it's important that when you're exercising, that you're keeping an eye on that doming. So if you are doming, it can be a sign that maybe that exercise is just a little bit too advanced at the moment and it's something to work towards. So it's always a good idea to check in with a health professional to make sure that if you're unsure, if you're doing the right exercises, they can give you advice. And also pelvic floor wise, there's loads of great apps and great advice videos out there, which I'll put a few links up underneath this video. But if in doubt, if you're doing them correctly, then it's always best to speak to a pelvic health physiotherapist, and both a routine musculoskeletal physio like myself or a pelvic health physiotherapist. You can get your GP to refer you to those services via the NHS, or of course there's many practitioners out there who you can access privately as well. But yeah, main messages with a diastasis: it is normal, there's lots we can do to treat it, and exercise is one of the best ways that we can get things going and get women back on track.